Welcome to another deep dive, everybody, where we're going to be focusing on making a real impact with your product.
Yeah, getting into the nitty-gritty of the make an impact domain from the IABA's Guide to Product Ownership Analysis.
We talk a lot about resonating with your customers and delivering on your organization strategy,
Absolutely.
but how do you actually make an impact?
Yeah,
And it's really about finding that balance between those two.
it is.
And this whole thing makes me think about Amazon.
Okay.
You know how their impact isn't just about the quality of their products, but the quality of the entire customer experience.
I mean, that's such a great point because sometimes the product may not be like the best quality or the most technologically advanced, but
Right.
if the experience is seamless from you know,
Phasing.
to delivery, that perception of quality is just as powerful.
It really is.
Sometimes even if it means getting a good enough product out the door quickly.
So it makes you think, what's the Amazon equivalent in your own work?
Right.
What are you doing that's like that?
Yeah.
And the guide actually wants us to think about this.
Mm.
It encourages us to ask some really insightful questions like who's actually impacted by your product, not just who uses it.
Yeah, that's a great point because sometimes, you think about the customer, but it's not always obvious, like who else is
Yeah.
impacted. It's
Right.
like you said, all the stakeholders' ripple effects, understanding how your product fits into the bigger picture.
And the guide even wants us to think about how customers and stakeholders are affected,
Yes.
both positively and negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the impact on the team and the organization itself.
Yeah.
It's a lot to consider.
It is, but I think by, considering all these different angles, you're ensuring that your product isn't just a solution that's just kind of floating out there,
Yeah.
but it's actually a force for positive change across the board.
And that makes me think about something that the IIBA guide emphasizes, which is authenticity.
Okay.
It's not just about solving a problem. It has to be a genuine solution.
Yeah,
It has to deliver on its promises.
absolutely.
It has to be sustainable.
Yeah.
No one wants to feel tricked by, you know, overblown marketing hype.
I mean, yeah, that no one likes to feel like they've been duped or anything like that.
And on that note, the guide makes us think about long-term sustainability.
Yeah.
You know, can your product stay relevant? Do you have the resources to keep it going?
Right.
Does it actually fit the market?
Mm-hmm.
These are all tough questions, but essential for lasting impact.
Yeah, because, if it's just a fleeting impact, then it's not really impactful, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the guide also brings a dose of realism to the table by acknowledging that we might hit some roadblocks along the way.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe the technology isn't quite there.
Yeah.
Maybe internal processes are kind of holding you back.
Absolutely.
Maybe the business model itself needs some tweaking.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing those potential pitfalls is key to proactively addressing them.
It's like almost like a pre-mortem for your product.
Right.
What could go wrong?
Exactly.
How can we plan for it?
No, let's say we've got this solid, authentic product. How do we keep that impact going?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really strong. And the guide points to one concept,
Okay.
customer delight.
Customer delight. I love that.
It's about going beyond simple satisfaction.
Absolutely.
You want people raving about your product, becoming loyal fans,
Mm-hmm.
And to help us achieve this, the guide actually breaks it down into 3 key areas.
Okay.
First, you need to know your target customers,
Mm-hmm.
those who truly benefit from what you're building.
Right.
And the guide recommends going deep with personas,
Okay.
creating these detailed profiles
Mm.
to understand their needs, their desires, their pain points.
So it's really, like you were saying before, understanding that impact on everyone involved.
Right.
Knowing your audience inside and out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the second element is product market fit.
Okay.
That magical sweet spot where your product lands in the right market and satisfies customer needs,
Right.
forging a real emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, there's value proposition. The clear, concise promise of value your product offers,
Right.
solving customer problems in a way that truly resonates with them.
Absolutely.
So we've got our 3 pillars of customer delight,
Okay.
knowing our target customer,
Mm-hmm.
finding that product market fit,
Yeah.
and crafting a compelling value proposition.
Okay. So let's break these down a little bit further.
Do it.
Starting with targeting customers.
Okay.
What insights does the guide offer for doing this effectively?
Give me the goods.
It all starts with building genuine customer intimacy.
Go.
Almost like forming a real relationship.
Hmm.
You need to understand their customer journey,
Yes.
their motivations, what makes them tick, what frustrates them.
Yeah.
Techniques like personas, customer journey maps, empathy maps can be incredibly valuable for truly getting your customers.
It's about seeing the world through their eyes.
Absolutely.
And the guide also encourages us to constantly ask ourselves, how will this help the customer?
That's such a great question.
And that question should guide your team.
Mm.
It should help prioritize tasks, refine plans based on real customer needs.
Don't rely on assumptions.
Yeah,
Test them right.
test them.
The guide emphasizes the importance of collaborative measurement.
Okay.
Use prototypes, observe behavior, and carefully analyze feedback.
Speaking of feedback, this Super C case study really highlights how important this is.
Oh yeah, Super C, this big retailer, they were struggling to get people to use their in-store pickup service. They did all the marketing and it wasn't clicking.
And this is a classic example of what happens when we assume we know what customers want without really understanding their needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they brought in a business analysis expert to try and figure out why the service wasn't resonating.
Mm-hmm.
They used personas and customer journey maps to
Smart.
step into the customer's shoes.
Absolutely.
And what they found was pretty surprising.
What was it?
The in-store walk actually added extra hassle for their target demographic.
Oh no.
Busy moms and young professionals.
Oh, that makes sense.
It wasn't encouraging impulse buys like they thought it would.
Right.
It made the experience less convenient.
It's a great example of how sometimes what we think is convenient or helpful isn't actually perceived that way by our customers.
Right.
Deep customer understanding is crucial.
So they made some changes.
Okay, good.
They introduced reserved parking for pickup customers,
SAR.
had employees deliver orders right to their cars,
I love that.
and even started incorporating targeted recommendations
Wow.
based on what was already in the customer's cart.
That's genius.
And it's amazing how those seemingly small tweaks can make a world of difference.
It all boils down to seeing the experience through your customer's eyes, right?
Exactly.
So now moving on to our next pillar,
Okay.
product market fit.
Oh, yes.
The guide defines this as having a product that's not only in the right market, but also capable of truly satisfying those customer needs we just discussed.
Okay. So product market fit
Yeah.
is like finding the perfect dance partner.
I love that.
You need to understand their rhythm,
Mm.
their moves,
Yeah,
and move in sync to create something beautiful.
I love it.
And the guide uses a case study about a home security company called HomeView
Okay,
to illustrate this.
great.
HomeView was trying to decide which market to enter next.
Okay.
The booming world of smart home tech, or the seemingly less exciting field of home health tech.
Right.
So the obvious choice might have been to just jump on the smart home bandwagon.
Sure, yeah.
But HomeView wisely decided to do their homework first.
Cuz.
They benchmarked competitors, they analyzed customer demographics, they dug into their existing service usage patterns,
Very smart.
and what they discovered was fascinating.
Tell me.
Their customers were already using their security systems for things like requesting medical assistance.
Oh, wow.
Plus, they found a gap in the home health tech market,
Interesting.
with existing providers not really keeping up with the latest advancements.
Got it.
So they had a light bulb moment.
I bet.
They realized their existing customer base and their capabilities were a perfect fit for home health tech.
They were already doing it.
They were already kind of doing it.
So they just needed to fine-tune it.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So they went with home health tech,
Important to...
and it turned out to be a brilliant strategic move.
Nice.
They leveraged their strengths, they filled a market gap, and they positioned themselves as leaders in this growing field.
Very cool.
It's a perfect example of how resisting the allure of the obvious choice
Mhm.
and really doing your due diligence
Yes.
can lead to much more impactful outcomes.
Absolutely. Thorough analysis is key to making those crucial strategic decisions.
And now let's move on to our final element of customer delight,
Okay.
defining the value proposition.
This is where it gets good.
This is where we get to articulate the heart of what makes our product special.
Yeah.
It's a promise of value to the customer.
Absolutely.
It's more than just a list of features.
Right.
And the guide actually describes it as this promise crafted from a blend of ideas, insights, evidence, and design.
Okay. I like that.
And it mentions a really intriguing tool for testing and refining your value proposition,
Hit me.
the $100 test.
The $100 test. I love this one.
It's such a clever way to understand how customers perceive and prioritize value.
Yeah.
You give your customers an imaginary $100
Mhm.
to spend on a list of potential features,
And
and you can see how they allocate their budget.
right. And you gain some invaluable insight into what truly matters to them.
Right.
What they're willing to pay for, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The guide actually gives an example of a company that was developing a shoe dyeing app,
Okay.
and they used the $100 test.
Yeah.
And they discovered that things like multiple photos and reviews from similar shoppers were much more valuable to customers than a foot tracing visual,
Interesting.
which the team initially thought would be a hit.
It's a fantastic reminder that our assumptions about what customers want don't always align with reality.
Exactly.
What they will actually pay for is very different than what we think they will.
And to wrap up this section on customer delight, we have one more case study.
Okay.
Remember Super C?
Yes.
They were launching a new store-branded credit card,
Okay.
and they wanted to use it to boost customer loyalty and increase sales at their gas stations.
Always thinking strategically.
So they did their research
Okay.
and realized that a lot of their customers didn't have traditional credit cards
Oh, interesting.
due to income or credit score constraints.
Got it.
And they saw an opportunity to offer a card that would meet those needs
Smart targeting.
while benefiting the company as well.
That's great.
So they crafted a value proposition that was irresistible to their customer base.
What was it?
A 5-cent per gallon discount on gas purchases made with the Super C card, plus a cashback bonus after a relatively low spending threshold of $500.
I like it win-win.
It was a win-win.
Yeah.
You know, they tapped into their customers' desire for savings while also creating this sense of prestige that came with having a credit card.
Right.
And the results speak for themselves. Sales at their gas stations skyrocketed.
Nice.
Average purchase amounts increased.
Yeah.
Customer traffic went through the roof.
Wow.
But there was an unexpected benefit, too.
What was that?
Customers started feeling a sense of pride
Oh, wow.
in carrying the Super C card,
Really?
which further strengthened their loyalty to the brand.
That's amazing.
It's amazing how a well-crafted value proposition can have those ripple effects.
It all comes back to truly understanding your customers and speaking directly to their needs and desires.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Now, we've talked a lot about customer impact,
Yeah.
but let's not forget the other side of the equation,
Right.
aligning your product with your organization's overall strategy.
And that's where the guide emphasizes navigating two distinct but interconnected levels:
Okay.
broad product alignment and detailed backlog execution.
Give it to me.
Think of it this way. It mentions these agile planning horizons: strategy, initiative, and delivery.
Okay.
Strategy is like your long-term vision. Initiatives are the big steps you take towards that vision.
Okay.
And delivery is the day-to-day work of making it happen.
Gotcha.
Effective product ownership analysis needs to consider all three of these horizons.
Okay.
It's about seeing the big picture while also sweating the small stuff.
So it's like having a roadmap for a cross-country trip.
Yeah.
You need to know your destination. You need to plan those major stops along the way. But you also got to make sure you have enough gas in the tank
Right.
to keep moving forward.
Exactly.
So let's dig a little deeper into defining your product strategy.
Okay.
The guide points out that in an agile context, product strategy is dynamic and iterative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about setting a rigid plan in stone.
Right.
It's about being flexible and adaptable, responding to new information, and changing market conditions.
And that's where POA plays a really crucial role.
Yes.
It helps refine your strategy by incorporating those insights from your product vision, your product market fit analysis, and your value proposition.
It's like a constant feedback loop informing and shaping your strategy as you go.
Exactly.
Now, to communicate and visualize your product strategy, the guide highlights 3 types of roadmaps:
Okay.
goal-oriented now, next, later, and story maps.
Give me a rundown.
Okay, so a goal-oriented roadmap focuses on desired outcomes
Okay.
with clear success criteria.
Got it.
It's really good for keeping everyone aligned from the stakeholders all the way down to your development team.
Awesome.
Now, next, later is a very visual timeline.
Okay.
It's simple, clear, and perfect for stakeholder engagement.
Gotcha.
And finally, the story map offers a more detailed overview of your product's features and activities.
Okay.
It's organized around user stories or customer journeys. It's great for initial planning and thinking from that customer-centric perspective.
I like it.
And to see how these roadmaps can work in practice, the guide shares another case study from our friend Poultry Plus.
Poultry Plus is back.
They had a huge headache with their project intake process. Everything was manual, time-consuming,
Right.
and it was scattered across different systems.
Not efficient at all.
So they brought in Tony, a product owner, to try and help streamline things.
Okay.
And he decided to use a now, next, later roadmap to guide the development of a new online system.
Now, next later perfect for breaking down this complex project into manageable stages.
Absolutely.
So they started by addressing the most immediate pain points,
Okay.
centralizing information, making it easier for customers to submit their project needs electronically.
Got it.
And their first iteration was a smashing success.
Nice.
They solved the core problem,
Yeah.
laid the groundwork for adding more features, and kept everyone happy.
So it just goes to show that focusing on immediate value while having a clear roadmap for future enhancements is a recipe for success.
Absolutely.
Speaking of success, let's shift our focus to another crucial aspect of strategic alignment,
Okay.
integrating across initiatives.
All right.
So in many organizations, multiple teams work on initiatives that, while seemingly separate, are interconnected.
Yes.
And without careful coordination, you risk duplicating effort, missing dependencies, and ultimately undermining your product's impact.
So it's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Yeah.
You might end up with a bunch of rooms that don't connect or walls that don't support the roof.
Yeah, the guide breaks it down into three main types.
Okay.
Product integration, where multiple teams work on a single product. Strategic initiative integration, where multiple products contribute to a larger strategic goal.
Gotcha.
And organizational integration, where different departments across the company support the product's success.
Okay.
It's all about understanding that web of activity
Right.
and ensuring that everyone is working in sync.
Exactly.
And to facilitate this kind of cross-team coordination, the guide mentions some common scaling frameworks. Things like Safe Scrum of Scrums and LESS.
Familiar with those.
These frameworks provide structure and guidance for managing these complex projects.
Right.
And here's where POA shines. It plays a vital role in ensuring these frameworks are implemented effectively and that the product vision remains at the forefront.
So it's like a conductor leading an orchestra,
Yes.
making sure all the instruments are playing in harmony.
Absolutely.
I like that.
And remember, Poultry Plus.
They're back.
They faced a real-life integration challenge while implementing multiple new systems across different divisions.
Okay.
They had separate Scrum teams focusing on each business unit, which initially seemed logical. But it turns out that this siloed approach led to problems.
Oh, no. What happened?
They duplicated work.
Yeah.
They overlooked dependencies, and they struggled to communicate effectively.
Right.
Like, for example, the poultry division was moving much faster with their development, but they didn't consider the more complex needs of the pet food division.
Oh, no.
It's easy to see how that could lead to wasted effort and rework down the line.
Right.
To address these challenges, they decided to implement a Scrum of Scrums model led by a senior product manager named Susan.
Okay, Susan on the case.
Her role was to facilitate communication and coordination across the different Scrum teams.
So she was kind of like a central hub,
Right.
making sure everyone had a shared understanding of priorities, dependencies, potential roadblocks.
Right. It's about breaking down those walls and creating a more collaborative environment.
Exactly.
And it worked.
Good for Susan.
They saw significant improvement in coordination, resource allocation, and communication.
Awesome.
Open communication and a shared understanding of priorities are essential when juggling multiple initiatives.
Absolutely. And finally, let's talk about cultivating organizational support for your product.
All right.
Your impact isn't just about your immediate team.
Right.
It's about creating a network of support across departments,
Yeah.
breaking down silos and building those relationships.
That's crucial.
The guide emphasizes the importance of efficient planning and coordination, effective risk and assumption management, and harmonizing work efforts across the entire organization.
It's about recognizing that product success often depends on contributions from people and departments who might not be directly involved in that day-to-day development process.
Exactly.
So, for example, our case study, All-Star Poultry Plus,
There we go.
faced a major challenge with data visibility, which was hindering their decision-making across the board.
Oh, no. Their data analysis was inconsistent, reporting was a pain, and executives struggled to get a clearer view of the business.
They had all this data, but it wasn't organized or accessible in a way that supported good decision-making.
So Carla, a POA professional on their development team, stepped in to help.
Okay, good for Carla.
And she used stakeholder maps and personas to understand the data needs of different groups within the company.
So essentially, she created a blueprint for a business intelligence system that was tailored to the needs of each stakeholder group.
Exactly.
And they developed a system with these tailored dashboards, giving everyone access to the data they needed, presented in a clear and actionable way.
And it was a game changer.
I bet.
Executives finally had that high-level overview. Managers were freed from manually compiling reports.
Yeah.
And status meetings became a thing of the past because everyone had the data they needed at their fingertips.
It's a perfect example of how understanding the diverse needs of your stakeholders and providing solutions that support them is crucial for company-wide success.
It really is all about understanding those needs.
Absolutely.
And making sure that you're addressing those needs in your product development.
Yeah, making sure that, you can support them across the company. Welcome back. We just finished exploring those big picture concepts behind making an impact with your product. Now it's time to get into the practical side.
Let's do it.
Specific techniques that can make these ideas a reality in your work.
So we know the what. Now we need the how.
Exactly.
And luckily, the IIBA guide doesn't just talk theory. It gives us a toolbox of POA techniques that directly connect to creating impact.
Yes. And we'll be exploring those tools in detail today.
Let's get into it.
A great place to start is backlog refinement.
Okay.
It's a core practice in Agile. But when our focus is on impact, we need to kind of view it through a different lens.
So it's not just about refining tasks, it's about refining them with impact in mind.
Exactly.
So how does that actually work?
Think about it this way. We want to infuse every step of that refinement process with the impact principles we've discussed.
Okay.
For instance, when you're fleshing out those product backlog items, the guide suggests framing them from the customer's perspective.
Okay.
What outcomes will they experience?
Right.
How will their world be better because of this item?
So instead of just saying develop feature X,
Yes.
we're asking how will feature X empower Sarah, our busy mom persona, to achieve Y?
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots between the task.
And the impact it has on a real person.
Yeah.
And the guide reminds us to make sure those outcomes are grounded in empathy.
Okay.
Can you genuinely connect with the customer's needs and feelings as you refine these items?
Right.
Are you putting on your empathy glasses, so to speak?
I love that analogy. It's like, seeing the backlog through the customer's eyes.
Exactly.
It makes it much more real and meaningful. And as we refine the backlog, we need to be mindful of strategic alignment as well, right?
Absolutely. Each item should contribute to your overall product vision.
Right.
Does it fit into the broader roadmap? The guide reminds us that impact isn't just about delivering any value.
Right.
It's about delivering the right value.
Yes.
The kind that truly moves the needle.
Okay, that makes sense. And that actually brings me to something that I was thinking about.
Okay.
Where do business cases fit into all of this?
Yeah.
They sometimes feel a bit formal, maybe even a bit old school.
In, the fast-paced world of product development.
You're right, they can seem that way.
Yeah.
But the guide encourages us to think of business cases as living documents.
Okay.
They should evolve alongside our product, just like our understanding of its impact.
So they're not just static documents gathering dust on a shelf.
Not at all. When crafted with impact in mind, business cases can become really powerful tools.
Okay.
First and foremost, a strong business case forces you to clearly articulate the why behind your product.
Right.
Why does this product need to exist?
Yes.
What value does it bring to the table? How will it make a difference?
It's like presenting a compelling argument.
Exactly.
For your product's impact.
Yes.
Not just a dry financial analysis.
Right. And this articulation of value is crucial for getting stakeholders on board, especially those who might not be directly involved in the development process. It helps them see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And since products are always evolving, the business case should evolve too. Use it to track market trends, revisit your value proposition, and make sure your product stays aligned with both customer needs and organizational goals.
It's a dynamic tool for staying on course and maximizing impact.
Yes.
Throughout the entire product lifecycle.
I like that.
Okay, so now let's shift gears and talk about something a bit more fun.
Okay.
Collaborative games.
Yes. The power of play. Don't underestimate what games can bring to the table.
I like it.
The guide highlights how collaborative games can be fantastic for building a shared understanding, boosting teamwork, and sparking those creative solutions that drive impact.
Okay, I'm sold on the idea of having more fun at work. But what kinds of games are we talking about here?
There's a whole world of collaborative games out there.
Yeah.
But let's focus on a few that are particularly relevant to impact.
Okay.
Prioritization games, like the $100 test we mentioned earlier, are excellent for getting everyone aligned on which features are truly valuable. Stakeholder analysis games, such as Friend or Foe, help you map out stakeholders and understand their potential influence.
So it's like taking these kind of complex concepts and turning them into interactive experiences that everyone can engage with.
Exactly. And don't forget about problem-solving games. These can be invaluable when tackling those inevitable challenges that arise during product development.
Right. So I love the idea of using games.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how you actually integrate them into a busy development process. Do you just like randomly break out a game of Monopoly in the middle of a sprint planning meeting?
That might cause some confusion.
Right.
The key is to be intentional.
Okay.
Identify those specific points in your process where a game could add value.
Right.
Maybe during backlog refinement.
Right.
When you're prioritizing features or during a retrospective.
Okay.
When you're reflecting on what went well and what could be improved.
Okay.
It's about picking the right game for the right moment.
Right.
Ensuring it has a clear purpose. And a desired outcome. Yeah, you wouldn't just want to play games for the sake of playing games.
Exactly. And don't forget about your team's culture and working style.
Right.
Some thrive on competition, others prefer more collaborative games. The guide reminds us to find the right fit.
Like picking the right tool for the job, a hammer, is great for nails, but not so much for screws.
I like that.
And speaking of the right tool, let's talk about customer journey maps.
Okay.
They seem to be a favorite among POA professionals.
And with good reason. Customer journey maps force us to walk a mile in our customers' shoes.
Right.
A well-crafted journey map can help you identify pain points, moments of delight, and opportunities to enhance the overall customer experience.
Which, as we've seen, is a major driver of impact.
Yeah.
So how do we actually create one of these maps?
The guide lays out a very helpful process.
Okay.
You start by pinpointing your target customer or their persona. Remember, you're mapping the journey of a specific customer segment,
Right.
not every single user out there.
Then you define the scope of the journey.
Okay.
What are the key touch points or stages where the customer interacts with your product or service?
Okay, so we're kind of mapping the flow of their experience from start to finish.
Exactly.
What comes next?
The next step is gathering data,
Okay.
both qualitative and quantitative, about the customer experience at each touch point.
Relevant.
What are they doing? Thinking, feeling.
Thanks.
You might use surveys to collect feedback, but don't forget the power of customer interviews and observing their behavior.
Right.
Those provide a deeper understanding that goes beyond checking boxes.
I bet those empathy maps we discussed earlier come in handy at this stage.
Absolutely. Empathy maps are great for digging into those emotional nuances at each touch point.
Right.
Once you've collected all this rich data,
Yeah.
you can start visually mapping the journey.
Okay.
Using a timeline or flowchart, this shows the progression of the customer's experience in a way that everyone can understand.
And I love how customer journey maps aren't just static documents.
Right.
They're living, breathing tools
Yes.
that should be revisited and updated as you gain more insights and as your product evolves.
Exactly. And it's a great tool for collaboration.
Right.
By sharing the journey map with your team, with stakeholders, even with customers, you create a shared understanding of customer experience.
Right.
And this sparks conversations that often lead to those aha moments
Right.
and positive improvements.
Okay. Customer journey maps, definitely a must-have
Yes,
in the Impact Toolkit.
absolutely.
Now, switching gears again,
Okay.
let's talk about decision modeling and analysis.
All right.
How does this help us make an impact?
Decision modeling is all about bringing structure and clarity to those crucial product decisions that ultimately shape its impact.
Okay.
It helps you make informed choices that align with your product vision, customer needs, and those all-important organizational goals.
So instead of making decisions on the fly,
Yeah.
we're taking a more structured analytical approach.
Precisely. And the guide points out a few key types of decisions where this technique is especially helpful.
Okay.
For example, when deciding which product features to prioritize, decision modeling can help you weigh different factors.
Right.
Customer value development, effort, strategic alignment.
Right.
All of these can be plugged into the model to ensure you're choosing those most impactful features.
It's like a decision-making rubric for your product.
I like that.
And another area where decision modeling can be helpful is when figuring out the timing of feature releases.
Yes, it helps you analyze that potential impact of different release sequences.
So it's about finding that optimal release schedule
Exact.
to make the biggest splash.
Yes. The guide also emphasizes establishing those clear decision-making frameworks within your organization.
Okay.
This could involve creating processes checklists, or even a decision authority matrix.
So everyone knows how decisions are made.
Yeah.
Who has the authority to make them?
Right. Transparency and consistency are key, especially in larger organizations where you have lots of teams involved.
Okay. And closely related to decision modeling are the concepts of definition of ready, definition of delivery,
Yes.
and definition of done.
These are all about that crystal clear understanding of what done means.
Right. Agile is all about that clarity and shared understanding.
Absolutely.
So how do these definitions contribute to making an impact?
Let's start with the definition of ready. Think of this as a checklist.
Okay.
For your product backlog items, it outlines the criteria that must be met before an item is considered ready for development.
Okay, so it's like a quality control checkpoint early in the process.
Exactly.
What kinds of criteria are we talking about?
It might include things like having clear acceptance criteria,
Okay.
a deep understanding of the user needs behind the item, and ensuring the item is sized appropriately.
Right.
For an iteration, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
It's about setting the stage for success from day one.
Exactly. Now, the definition of delivery builds upon this.
Okay.
It outlines what must be in place for a product increment to be considered releasable.
So we're taking that clarity and shared understanding
Yes.
all the way to the finish line.
Precisely. This definition might include things like successfully completing all testing,
Okay.
getting those crucial stakeholder approvals, and having a solid rollout plan.
Yeah.
It's not just delivering a product.
Right.
It's delivering an experience that's ready for prime time.
I love that distinction.
Right. And lastly, there's the definition of done.
Right.
This focuses on completing those individual tasks or user stories within a sprint.
Okay.
It's the micro-level clarity that keeps everyone moving in sync.
So everyone knows exactly what done means
Yes.
for each piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Passing all unit tests, completing code reviews, and updating documentation. These are all examples
Okay.
of criteria for a definition of done.
Right.
And these definitions might seem like small details, but they have a big impact.
Yes. On the quality and efficiency of your development process.
Right. It's about eliminating rework,
Yes.
minimizing misunderstandings, and ultimately delivering a product that's polished and ready to make an impact.
Exactly.
Speaking of understanding,
Yes.
let's dive into empathy maps,
Right.
which are a fantastic tool for really getting inside your customer's head.
Empathy maps go beyond that surface level understanding. They help you connect with your customer's emotional landscape,
Right.
uncover hidden needs and desires,
Okay.
and tap into those motivations that can drive product innovation and ultimately create a real impact.
I love how visual they are.
Right.
You know, they really help you paint a vivid picture
Yes.
of your customer's experience. What are the key elements of an empathy map?
The guide breaks the empathy map down into 6 key sections.
Okay.
Think and feel, hear the see. Say and do, pain and gain.
Leave it to me.
Okay. Each section prompts you to consider a different aspect of the customer's world.
So in think and feel, we're trying to get inside the customer's head. What are their thoughts, emotions, beliefs?
Right.
Here focuses on what the customer is hearing from their environment, friends, family, colleagues, even the media. This gives you insight into their influences and perceptions.
Right.
See, is about their physical environment,
Okay.
the products and services they encounter, and how they interact with them,
Right.
say and do, focuses on the customer's actions. What are they actually doing? What are they saying to others?
Okay.
This can reveal a lot about their motivations and those unmet needs
Right.
that might be lurking beneath the surface. And then pain and gain really zoom in on those challenges and aspirations.
Right.
What are their pain points? What are they hoping to achieve?
And by mapping out all these different perspectives,
Yes,
you create this holistic view of the customer experience,
exactly.
which is pure gold for driving those product decisions. So how do you actually use an empathy map? Is it a brainstorming session with your team?
That's one approach, but the guide also suggests using empathy maps in conjunction with other research techniques,
Okay.
like customer interviews
Yeah.
or observations. You could even create empathy maps directly with your customers
Oh, wow.
to get their input and validation.
That's a great way to make sure you're capturing their perspective accurately.
Absolutely.
Speaking of customer feedback,
Yes.
let's talk about focus groups.
All right.
Another technique for gathering those valuable insights.
Focus groups are a fantastic way to bring a group of customers together and deep dive into their thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
Okay.
With your product, they're all about open dialogue. and generating those rich qualitative insights
Right.
that can drive product improvement and spark innovation.
Go through a customer feedback party.
I like that description.
Yeah.
But the guide reminds us that careful planning and execution are crucial for success.
Yeah.
You need to choose the right participants, create a comfortable environment,
Mm-hmm.
and develop thoughtful questions to elicit meaningful feedback.
I imagine having a skilled moderator is essential as well.
Absolutely. A good moderator keeps the conversation flowing, ensures everyone has a chance to share,
Right.
and can delve deeper into the most interesting insights that emerge.
Right. So I know focus groups can be very valuable,
Mm-hmm.
but they can also be time-consuming and resource-intensive.
Right.
So how do you know when they're the right tool to
Right.
use?
The guide suggests using focus groups at key points in the product lifecycle,
Okay.
like when launching a new product or a major feature,
Mm-hmm.
or when you need targeted feedback on a specific challenge
Right.
or opportunity.
So it's about choosing your moments wisely.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about a design philosophy that's all about putting the customer first.
Okay.
Human-centered design.
Human-centered design places the customer at the heart of every single stage of the design process. It's about deeply understanding their needs, behaviors, and motivations, and using those insights to create products that are not just functional, but also delightful and engaging to use.
So we're talking about products that people truly love to use.
Exactly. And remember, human-centered design is an iterative process.
Right.
It involves research, prototyping, testing, and refinement.
Mm,
It's not about getting it perfect the first time around,
right.
but rather about continuously learning and improving based on customer feedback.
So embracing those imperfections.
Yes.
And seeing them as opportunities to learn and grow. I like that.
I like that too. And when you truly understand your customers' needs
Mm-hmm.
and put them at the center of your design process, you open up a world of possibilities
Right.
for creating products that are not only functional, but truly impactful.
Okay. I'm sold on human-centered design. Now, let's talk about job stories.
Okay.
How do those relate to the idea of user stories, which we've talked about a little bit already?
Job stories are an excellent way to frame your product backlog items. In terms of the customer's needs and motivations,
Okay.
they help you move beyond a simple feature-based approach
Right.
and focus on the underlying job the customer is trying to get done.
Right. So instead of saying develop a search bar,
Mm-hmm.
we might say help Sarah, our busy mom,
Mm-hmm.
quickly find the specific ingredients she needs for her son's birthday cake recipe.
Precisely by framing your backlog items in this way,
Mm-hmm.
you're ensuring that you're building features that truly address the customer's needs and help them achieve their goals.
It's another way of bringing that all-important customer centricity to the forefront.
Exactly. And the guide suggests using job stories alongside user stories
Okay.
to provide a more comprehensive view of customer needs.
Okay.
User stories might focus on those specific actions or interactions, while job stories zoom out and look at the bigger picture
Right.
of what the customer is ultimately trying to accomplish.
So using both gives you a more well-rounded perspective. Now let's talk about Keno analysis, which seems like a great technique for understanding which features are going to make the biggest splash.
Kano analysis is a powerful tool for categorizing product features
Okay.
based on their potential impact on customer satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you prioritize features that will truly delight your customers
Right.
and set your product apart from the competition.
So break it down for me. How does it work in practice?
Kano analysis groups features into 5 main types.
Okay.
Basic features are those ones customers expect, essential for the product to function,
Right.
but don't necessarily create excitement.
Okay.
Then there are performance features,
Oh, okay.
which directly relate to how well the product functions.
Mm-hmm.
The better they perform, the happier the customer.
Makes sense. What are the other 3 types?
The lighter features are the ones that go above and beyond expectations.
Ooh, I like those.
The unexpected surprises that make your customers go, wow.
Right.
And we have indifferent features, which don't really affect customer satisfaction one way or the other.
Mhm.
These are the ones you might consider leaving on the cutting room floor.
This sounds like a good way to streamline things.
Exactly. And lastly, there are reverse quality features.
Reverse quality.
These are features that, when present, actually have a negative impact on customer satisfaction.
No, those are definitely the ones to avoid.
For sure. So by using Kano analysis, you can pinpoint those delighter features
Mhm.
that will really make your product stand out and prioritize them
Right.
in your development process.
So it's like a treasure map
I like that.
for customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about metrics and KPIs.
Okay.
Those all-important numbers that tell the story
Yes.
of our product's impact.
Metrics and KPIs are essential for tracking your product's performance, identifying areas for improvement, and making sure you're making an impact.
Right.
They help you move beyond guesswork and gut feelings
Right.
and make data-driven decisions.
We're talking about the data points that actually prove our product is making a difference.
Exactly. And the guide highlights several key categories of metrics that are relevant to POA.
Okay.
Strategic metrics. Focus on those high-level business goals like revenue growth or market share.
Right.
Product metrics track the performance of specific features like user engagement or conversion rates. And delivery metrics measure the efficiency of your development process like sprint velocity or defect rates.
Got it. So it's about having this balanced scorecard
Yes,
that captures the full picture of your product's impact,
absolutely.
from big picture goals to the nuts and bolts of development.
Right. The guide also mentions some helpful frameworks for organizing and tracking your metrics.
Okay.
For example, the HEART framework focuses on customer experience, and the ARR framework tracks the customer journey from acquiring them to generating revenue.
Got it. I love a good framework.
Me too.
They make complex concepts so much easier to grasp.
And the key with metrics and KPIs is choosing the ones that are truly meaningful and actionable.
Right.
You're not collecting data just for the sake of it.
Right.
You're using it to make decisions.
Yes.
And drive improvements.
So data should be a tool.
Yes.
Not just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet.
Precisely. And the guide encourages us to get the whole team involved in defining and tracking these metrics.
Yeah.
When everyone understands what's being measured and why, it fosters a shared sense of ownership and accountability.
It's like giving everyone a stake in the product's success.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about the minimum viable product, or MVP.
Okay.
This is all about delivering value quickly and iteratively.
The MVP approach is a core principle of agile development.
Right.
And it's a fantastic way to validate ideas, gather customer feedback, and minimize risk.
Okay.
You're building the smallest version of your product that delivers core value, and then you iterate based on what you learn.
So it's about getting something out there quickly.
Yes.
And learning as you go, rather than spending months or even years building the perfect product in isolation.
Right. And the guide highlights the importance of defining the purpose and target audience for your MVP. Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to test?
Right.
What are those essential features that will deliver value to those early adopters?
So it's about being laser focused and strategic.
Yes. And it sounds like there are different types of MVPs.
Right.
You might build a simple landing page, a prototype, or a stripped down version of the full product, depending on your goals and target audience.
Right.
The guide encourages finding that balance between delivering enough value to be useful and keeping things simple enough to iterate quickly.
So it's not about cutting corners,
Right.
but about making smart choices to maximize learning and minimize risk.
Exactly. And once you've launched your MVP, the next step is to gather feedback. Analyze the data and let those insights guide your next iteration.
Right.
It's a continuous cycle of learning and improvement.
So it's like this constant dance between building, learning, and adapting.
I like that.
Okay, now let's talk about a technique that ensures your product not only has the right features, but also performs well.
Okay.
Non-functional requirements analysis.
Ah, yes. Those often overlooked non-functional requirements.
Right.
Or NFRs.
Right, NFRs.
They're not about specific features, but those crucial qualities that determine how well a product works.
Right.
We're talking performance, security, usability, and scalability.
So while functional requirements are the what of your product, NFRs are the how.
Exactly.
They're the things that make your product a joy to use rather than a frustrating experience.
Right. So it's about making sure your product not only does what it's supposed to, but it also does it well.
Right. And the guide stresses that NFRs should be considered.
Yes.
Throughout the development process, not tacked on as an afterthought.
Absolutely. You need clear, measurable criteria for each NFR.
Okay. So if you're defining a performance requirement, you might specify that the system needs to respond to user requests within a specific time frame.
Exactly. By carefully analyzing and addressing those NFRs from the beginning, you can create a product that's reliable, secure, and a pleasure to use, all of which leads to greater customer satisfaction and impact.
So it's about creating that smooth and enjoyable experience for your users.
Absolutely.
Now let's revisit the idea of personas.
Okay.
We've talked about them a bit already, but there's such a powerful tool for understanding our target audience.
Personas are those fictional but data-driven representations of your ideal customer. They help you truly understand your audience's needs, behaviors, goals, and frustrations,
Right.
which are essential for customer-centric product development.
It's like giving a face and a name to your target audience.
Yes.
Making it much easier to empathize with them and design solutions that really hit the mark.
Exactly. The guide emphasizes involving the whole team in persona development.
Okay.
Customer interviews, data analysis workshops.
Right.
All of these can contribute to creating those rich persona profiles that everyone understands and can connect with.
It's a team effort to really get to know your customer inside and out.
Absolutely.
So once you have those personas, what's the best way to use them?
The guide suggests keeping them visible throughout the entire development process.
Good.
Refer to them during backlog refinement, sprint planning, design reviews. Basically, anytime you're making decisions about your product,
Right.
this keeps the needs of your target audience at the forefront.
It's like having those personas sitting right there in the room with you.
Yes.
Reminding you who you're building for.
Exactly.
I like it. Now, let's shift our focus to a technique that might seem basic,
Okay.
but is often overlooked.
What's that?
Problem definition and analysis.
Oh, yeah, this seems like such a fundamental step.
Right.
But I can see how it might get skipped over.
Yeah.
When you're really excited to jump into solutions mode,
Exactly.
you're right, it's tempting to dive straight into building features, but the guide reminds us that a clear and well-defined problem statement is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
It's the foundation for creating a truly impactful product.
So it's about taking a step back and really understanding the why behind the what.
Precisely. The guide provides a really great framework for defining the problem,
Okay.
prompting you to ask 4 key questions.
Liddy.
Who is experiencing the problem?
Okay.
What is the nature of the problem? Where does it occur? And why is it important to solve?
It's about painting a complete picture, understanding the context and the significance.
And don't forget about validation.
Right.
The guide stresses the importance of backing up your problem definition with data and research,
Okay.
ensuring that you're solving a real problem your target audience actually faces, not just a perceived one.
So we're grounding our assumptions in reality.
Exactly. With a clear, validated problem statement, you're ready to brainstorm solutions that are both targeted and truly impactful.
Awesome. Now let's move on to a technique for managing that ever-growing list of features and ideas.
Okay.
Product backlog management.
The product backlog, the beating heart of agile development.
It's like the to-do list for your product, but on steroids.
Exactly. Product backlog management is all about organizing, prioritizing, and refining those product backlog items,
Right.
or PBIs,
Right.
that represent all the work needed to build your product.
Okay, so how do you keep that backlog from becoming this overwhelming monster?
The guide highlights the importance of using a variety of techniques for effective backlog management.
Okay.
We've already talked about some of them, like user stories, job stories, and Kano analysis.
Right, those are all great tools for understanding or prioritizing what our customers need.
Exactly. And don't forget about other techniques like relative estimation, where you determine the complexity of PBIs,
Right.
and MOSCAI prioritization, which helps you categorize those PBIs based on their level of importance.
So it's about having this diverse toolkit
Yes.
and choosing the right techniques for the job.
Right. And remember, your product backlog is a living document.
Mm-hmm.
The guide stresses the need for regular reviews and refinements to ensure it stays aligned with your product vision
Right.
and the ever-evolving needs of your customers.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Not at all.
Okay, now let's revisit product market fit and explore a technique that can help us achieve that elusive sweet spot.
Product market fit, as we discussed earlier, is that beautiful intersection where your product is not only in the right market, but also satisfying your customers' needs.
Right.
The guide refers to a technique simply called product market fit, but it's more about a mindset than a single technique.
So it's about approaching product development with a certain lens.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach to understanding your target market,
Okay.
their needs, and how your product fits into their world. Think of it as doing your due diligence.
So no shortcuts.
Right. The guide suggests a few key steps to assess product market fit.
Okay.
First, define your target customer. Who are you building for? What are their pain points and aspirations?
Sounds familiar. It's all about that customer centricity again.
Exactly. Then, analyze the market landscape. What solutions already exist? What are the trends? Where are the opportunities? And finally, gather data and feedback directly from your target customers.
Right.
Do they see your product as a solution to their problems? Are they genuinely excited about it?
So it's not enough to just think you have a great product.
Right.
You need to get real-world validation from your target audience.
Precisely by taking this holistic approach, you can increase your chances of building a product that truly resonates with your customers and has a meaningful impact.
Okay, so now let's move on to a technique that's all about communicating your product vision and strategy.
Okay.
The product roadmap.
Product roadmaps, they're essential for keeping everyone on the same page, from your development team to your stakeholders.
Right, but how do they specifically help us make an impact?
A well-crafted roadmap goes beyond just listing features and deadlines.
Okay.
It clearly articulates the why behind those features and how they contribute to the overall product vision and business goals.
So it's like a narrative, a story that brings your product to life and gives it a sense of purpose.
Exactly, and the guide highlights those three main types of roadmaps: goal-oriented now, next, later, and story maps.
Right, we covered those in detail earlier, each with its own strengths depending on your needs and your audience.
Right, and remember, a product roadmap is a living document.
Mm-hmm.
The guide emphasizes regular reviews and updates, ensuring it stays aligned with new information, feedback, and those ever-changing market conditions.
So flexibility and adaptability are key.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about a technique that can help you make more strategic decisions about when to invest in certain features or initiatives.
Okay.
Real options.
Real options is a concept borrowed from the world of finance.
Okay.
It recognizes that decisions aren't always black and white. Sometimes it's wise to defer a decision until you have more information or until market conditions are more favorable.
So it's like having the option to invest, but not being obligated to.
Exactly. The guide points out how helpful this approach can be in the fast-paced world of product development.
Right.
Keeping your options open minimizes risk and maximizes your chance of success.
It's like having a backup plan, or even several backup plans in your back pocket.
Right. The guide also notes how real options can help manage stakeholder expectations.
Okay.
By acknowledging that some decisions might be deferred, you can avoid making premature commitments that could come back to bite you later.
It's about being transparent and realistic.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about reviews.
Okay.
We all know they're essential, but how do they specifically help us make an impact?
Reviews create those valuable opportunities for feedback and collaboration, ensuring you're building a product that meets everyone's needs and expectations.
So it's about opening up the development process and creating a more inclusive environment.
Exactly. The guide highlights different types of reviews.
Okay.
Sprint reviews, for example, happen at the end of each sprint to demonstrate progress and gather feedback from stakeholders.
Sprint reviews are fantastic for celebrating what you've accomplished and getting everyone excited about what's coming next.
I agree. Other valuable reviews include design reviews, where you focus on the user interface and user experience, and user acceptance testing, which gets your product into the hands of real users for feedback.
Incorporating feedback at every stage. I love it.
And remember, the guide encourages us to see reviews as chances to learn and improve, not just boxes to be checked off.
So it's about embracing feedback even when it's not sunshine and roses.
Yes.
And using it to make your product even better.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about managing those inevitable uncertainties that come with product development.
Okay.
Risk analysis and management.
It's like trying to predict the future. You never know what challenges might pop up along the way.
Right. But we can be prepared. Risk analysis and management is about identifying those potential problems, assessing their likelihood and impact, and developing strategies to mitigate those risks. It's about being proactive in anticipating challenges so you can avoid them or at least minimize their impact.
So it's like having a crystal ball that helps you see those potential roadblocks before you hit them.
Exactly. The guide points out several types of risks to consider.
Okay.
Market risks relate to things like competition, customer demand, and economic conditions.
Okay.
Technical risks relate to the feasibility and complexity of the product. And organizational risks relate to things like team dynamics, resource availability, and internal processes.
So it's about considering all the angles?
Yes.
From the external environment to the inner workings of your organization?
Right. And the guide emphasizes getting the whole team involved in risk analysis.
Okay.
When you tap into everyone's expertise and perspectives, you're much more likely to spot potential problems early on.
It's like having a team of detectives on the case.
I like that.
Now let's talk about exploring the unknown spikes.
Ooh, spikes.
Sounds exciting.
Spikes are those time-boxed activities you undertake to reduce uncertainty or gain a better understanding of a specific problem or solution. They're perfect for exploring those areas where you just don't have all the answers yet.
It's like setting out a scouting party to gather intel.
That's a great analogy. The guide points out that spikes can be used for many different purposes.
Okay.
Investigating new technologies, exploring design solutions,
Right.
or even gathering more information about a specific user need.
So it's about making time for exploration and experimentation.
And the key with spikes is to keep them focused
Right.
and time-boxed. You want to get the information you need without derailing your development timeline.
Strategic exploration.
Yes.
Now let's revisit stakeholder lists and maps.
Okay.
Talked about them briefly earlier, but I'd love to dig a little deeper.
Stakeholder lists and maps are about identifying those individuals and groups who have a vested interest in your product's success. Right.
They help you understand who to engage with, what their needs are, and how to effectively communicate with them.
So it's about building relationships and making sure everyone is on board with the product vision.
Exactly. The guide suggests that stakeholder lists and maps can be used to identify champions for your product,
Okay.
to anticipate resistance or concerns, or to simply make sure you're communicating effectively with everyone involved.
It's all about building that network of support and shared understanding.
And don't forget to keep your stakeholder lists and maps up to date, as people's roles and interests can change over time.
Another example of how things are constantly in flux in the world of product development.
Absolutely.
Now let's revisit story mapping, which is such a fantastic technique for visualizing the big picture.
Story mapping is all about creating a shared understanding of your product's features and functionality.
Right.
It helps you organize user stories in a way that shows how they connect to each other and to the overall customer journey.
So it's like creating a visual roadmap of the user experience. I completely agree. The guide highlights several benefits of story mapping, including its ability to facilitate collaboration, identify dependencies between features, and prioritize work based on customer value.
It sounds like a really powerful tool for planning and communication.
It is.
And like many of the techniques we've discussed, it embraces that iterative, adaptable approach that's so crucial and agile.
Exactly. The guide encourages us to use story maps as living documents, constantly adapting and evolving them as we learn more and get feedback.
Right, so now let's shift gears and talk about value modeling,
Okay.
a technique that helps ensure we're delivering the right kind of value.
Value modeling, it sounds like it's all about understanding the why behind those features.
Right.
What benefits do they provide? What problems do they solve? How do they make our customers' lives better?
Exactly.
Precisely, it's about going beyond a simple feature list and focusing on the outcomes that those features enable.
Right.
The guide suggests several approaches to value modeling.
Okay.
You might create a value proposition canvas.
Which outlines the key benefits for your target customers.
Right.
Or you might develop a more detailed value model that maps the relationship between features, benefits, and business outcomes.
So it's about finding the right level of detail for your needs and your audience.
Right, and the guide emphasizes the importance of involving stakeholders in that value modeling process.
Okay.
Ensuring that you're capturing diverse perspectives on what value really means.
It's about having those conversations and creating a shared understanding of value across the board.
Exactly. And speaking of value from the customer's perspective,
Yes.
let's talk about the value proposition canvas.
The value proposition canvas, another one of those visual tools that make those complex concepts so much easier to grasp.
Yes. It's a great way to make sure your product truly resonates with your target audience
Yeah.
and solves their problems in a meaningful way.
I remember seeing this in the guide.
Yeah.
It really is a great way to ensure that.
Yes.
Okay, so the guide breaks down the value proposition canvas into two main sections.
Okay.
The customer profile.
And the value map.
The customer profile focuses on understanding your target customers' jobs, pains, and gains.
Okay.
What are they trying to achieve? What challenges are they facing? And what benefits are they looking for?
Sounds familiar. It's all about that deep customer understanding yet again.
You got it. The value map focuses on how your product addresses those customer needs.
Okay.
What products and services are you offering? How do they alleviate those pain points?
Yeah.
How do they create gains for your customer? It's about demonstrating how your product fits into their world and makes their lives better.
It's like creating a bridge between what you offer and what your customers truly desire.
Exactly. Now let's shift our focus to understanding how value flows through your organization with a technique called value stream mapping.
Value stream mapping. This sounds intriguing.
It is.
Is it about creating a visual representation of how value is created and delivered within the organization.
That's exactly it. It's a lean management technique that helps you visualize all the steps involved in delivering a product or service to your customer.
So you can really see where those bottlenecks are, the inefficiencies,
Yes.
the areas where we can improve.
Precisely. And the guide suggests that value stream mapping can be used at different levels: a single feature, an entire product, or even a cross-functional process that involves multiple departments.
So it's a really versatile tool that can be applied in a variety of situations.
Right. And the key is to involve everyone who touches that value stream.
Okay.
From those directly involved in development to those in support roles. It's about creating a shared understanding and breaking down those silos that can hinder the flow of value.
Collaboration is key.
Yes.
Now, as we wrap up our exploration of these techniques, I'd love to touch on one more that seems fundamental to creating an impactful product.
Okay.
Visioning.
Visioning, it's about setting the direction, establishing that North Star for your product development journey.
Right.
It's about answering those big questions. Why are we building this? What impact do we want to make on the world?
So it's about creating a shared sense of purpose and inspiration.
Exactly. And the guide reminds us that visioning is a collaborative effort involving all key stakeholders,
Right.
from your development team to your customers.
It's about getting everyone on board with that shared vision of the future.
A well-crafted product vision should be aspirational, inspiring, and easy to understand. It needs to communicate the value your product offers and the positive impact it will have.
Right.
It's a powerful motivator for your team and a guiding light for your product development decisions.
And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into POA techniques for making an impact.
We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring a diverse toolkit that can help you build products that not only deliver value, but also make a real difference in the world.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about mastering every single technique. It's about finding the ones that resonate with you, that fit your context, and using them to create truly impactful products.
Well said.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring these concepts, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to go out there and make a difference.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep striving to make an impact with your work.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive.
Great episode.
Until next time, keep diving deep into the world of knowledge, and we'll see you on our next Deep Dive Adventure Happy Learning.